What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2. It is kind of insane that yes, it's going to be Wednesday already, and we are now on the Brawn vs Beauty Summit here with the lovely Ferrari F12 TDF. I'm actually happy to see this car return. I do believe this is the third and or fourth time. If I had to guess, it might actually be the last time you can actually get this car, at least until Motorfest actually does release. Which, by the way, guys, this is also the last summit until episode 2 here in season 8. I really do feel like time is honestly flying by, but in gold we have the Ford Mustang GT, which is one of those rallycross vehicles you're most likely not going to use. If you guys do own this vehicle though, you will luckily get the money back for it. And then in silver we have the legendary half set for the motocross bikes, which honestly any nitro chemist set with ventilated is going to be worth it. I would actually recommend going after that set as well. If I had to guess, it's probably going to only be 3 and or 4 parts, which luckily is going to be pretty helpful, especially in summits. But now moving over to the summit here, guys, starting off with these skills. So for the first one's going to be a low altitude. Funnily enough, I would actually say this is probably going to be like the easiest skill to do in the Crew 2. And luckily the Zivko edge is going to make this a lot more simple as well. For this one, guys, all you will have to do is once you start off, all you then have to do is hit the objective, then basically follow the water. This one is luckily going to be pretty easy to do overall. One thing I do want to mention though, guys, if you are too close to the water, you're actually not going to get any points, so do be careful on that. But nonetheless, guys, moving over to the next skill is going to be a speed trap. I would probably say the most annoying part about this one is dodging the cars that do spawn in the way. I did actually use the Corvette Stingray on this one once again. Do keep in mind if you guys do want to get over 410 miles per hour, you will obviously have to slipstream somebody to do so, so definitely keep that in mind. I got 395 miles per hour pretty easily. Luckily on my run though there wasn't that much traffic, so if you guys do have a lot of cars, I would probably say it's going to be kind of annoying. But moving over to the last skill though is going to be an escape, and for this one I obviously did run the 1414 Demon. I would by far say this is going to be the best boat to run on these escapes. I would say the Vector would be pretty good, but I really do prefer to actually run that boat on slaloms. And then when it comes to the escapes, I would say the Demon's by far going to be the best option. And on this escape, guys, you can either go right and or left and still easily get well over 4,000 yards. And then moving over to the first event, you guys will be able to drive the F12 TDF. Do keep in mind though, this event is going to be going to Vegas, so if you guys are going to want like a crazy high score on this one, you will most likely have to slipstream because the car does only go so fast. Unfortunately, the F12 in this event is going to be base level with no pro settings as well, but luckily though, one good thing about this, you can actually stay in 7th gear basically the entire event. And the nitrous bar on this car is also going to be kind of slow as well, so I would recommend using the nitrous only when you have to, and or trying to keep your speed on the higher end as well. But overall, I would say the F12 is a pretty awesome car. I'm actually planning on posting a video on that vehicle later on after this summit, so definitely stay tuned for that. But moving over to the next event is going to be a street race where you actually get to pick any car of your choice. For me, I actually decided to run the Porsche 911 Carrera once again. What's kind of hilarious, guys, I'm sure you're probably going to notice what car is in the leaderboard. I would say it's most likely going to be a Lamborghini. Honestly, who could have guessed on that? But overall, you could probably run any of these street cars and or many of them and score decently. I would highly recommend trying out the Porsche 911 because even to this day I would say this car is pretty underrated. But moving over to the next event though is going to be a touring car race. This one once again is going to be no restrictions, so for this event I did decide to run the Lamborghini Gallardo Super Trofeo. This car is by far not going to be new in any way though, guys, because my goodness, this thing is honestly incredible. Even before the handling update, this car was still one of the best. I do have a feeling that's easily going to stay in effect as well. I do want to mention, by the way, stay tuned for all the touring vehicles in the near future. I am planning to basically go over every single one after the Season 8 Episode 1 update. I really do feel like a lot of these cars are honestly going to be a lot better than they were. But nonetheless, guys, moving over to the next event's actually going to be a drift event for that matter. You will also be able to use the Ford Mustang GT. So for this one, I do want to mention, guys, you don't have to get 800,000 yards to do good. I would say you would probably get around 150k with less than 500,000 points, and or at least around that for that matter. So you will luckily not have to get a crazy score to actually get above 140k or so. I do know a lot of players are not going to be the biggest fan of drifting, which I can definitely understand. Luckily though, the Ford Mustang is going to be a lot of fun with that power. But now moving over to the next event's going to be another street race, which you are going to be able to drive the Ferrari Berlinetta. This surprisingly, guys, is going to be one of the best street cars in the game, at least when it comes to overall handling and or stability. I would say this car is probably going to lack with its biggest flaw, which is going to be its top speed. This car unfortunately only hits 230 miles per hour, but even with that though, this car is still going to be insanely good on many corners. And overall, I would definitely say this is one of the better street cars in the game. But moving over to the last event, guys, is going to be a touring car event and or mixed with an Alpha GP race. So for this, you have to drive a touring car, which is going to be the Ford GT Le Mans race car. And I honestly haven't driven this car that much in the past though. This car is also going to have a pretty odd flaw with it as well. It's only going to do 227 miles per hour, which as far as I know is going to be the slowest touring vehicle in the Crew 2, but luckily this thing is going to handle pretty nicely overall. I did manage to get 130,000 points, and I definitely wasn't racing that great either, so I would probably say this car isn't going to be that terrible. Overall, I do think this event's not going to be all that bad though, but overall though, I do think a lot of players are going to like this summit, especially because the events are actually pretty fun. If I had to guess though, the most annoying event for many players is most likely the drift one. Luckily guys, the Mustang is going to be pretty decent, but if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Let's jump right into this summit.
you